The question caught me completely off guard. About myself? I moved closer, my curiosity piqued. What are you trying to say, Marcus? He let out a long, measured breath, his eyes searching for the right way to express what was weighing on his mind. I've been reflecting on everything you've sacrificed for me, all the ways you've been my constant support, and I realized something troubling. I never truly acknowledged it. I just assumed it would always be there, you know. My heart tightened in my chest. A knot formed in my throat, but words escaped me. Marcus, there's no need for gratitude. I'm your mother. That's what mothers do. But he shook his head, and something shifted in his expression. That's exactly the problem, Mom. You don't understand what I'm trying to tell you. I've been living selfishly, and I need to confront this now. I can't continue down this path. I need to transform myself. I'm not living as the person I want to be. I felt my breath catch. In nearly 2 decades of motherhood, I had never witnessed Marcus like this. So exposed, so unguarded, so truthful. There was something else beneath his words. Something that felt, I'm not sure you'll fully grasp this right now. But what I'm attempting to communicate is that we both need to evolve in our own distinct ways. The realization crashed over me like a powerful wave, and I suddenly understood that everything had fundamentally shifted in that moment. What Marcus articulated wasn't solely about his journey, it encompassed mine as well. And that revelation, well, that was merely the beginning of something much larger. The evening had settled into a profound quiet, the kind of stillness that feels heavy with anticipation, as though the universe itself was pausing, waiting for the next movement. I remained in Marcus's room long after that initial conversation, uncertain how to break through the silence. So much remained unspoken between us, like 2 puzzle pieces that almost aligned perfectly. But here we were, 2 individuals who had spent so long inhabiting the roles we believed we were supposed to play, now attempting to discover who we were beneath all those layers. Marcus stood and walked toward his window, staring out into the darkness. I don't want to continue this pretense anymore. I want to discover who I genuinely am, not just who I think I'm supposed to. We were discussing things we had never verbalized before. It was almost as though we were reconstructing our relationship from its foundation, but this time it felt more honest. Marcus was opening himself, and in turn, I was beginning to open myself as well. There was something beautiful about it, something that made me feel like I was perceiving my son in ways I had never perceived him before, not just as my child, but as his own person, filled with complexity, dreams, and struggles. He began accepting responsibility for his actions, his feelings, and for the first time in years, I felt like he was genuinely living for himself, and it was contagious. I found myself contemplating more about what I wanted, about the things I had set aside for so long. It wasn't just about Marcus anymore. It was about both of us discovering our own paths, together yet separate. One afternoon, after I had finished work, I discovered Marcus in the kitchen, his back toward me, humming to himself as he prepared a sandwich. The sound of his voice brought an unexpected warmth to my chest. It was like hearing him for the first time, like hearing the son I had known for so long, but in a way that felt completely fresh. I leaned against the doorframe, observing him for a moment, a smile pulling at my lips. You know, you never used to hum when you were younger. What changed? Marcus paused, his knife halfway through the bread, and turned to look at me with a small grin. I suppose I've learned to find joy in the small things. You taught me that. I blinked, surprised by his words. I taught you that? He nodded. Yes. I used to think life was all about major achievements, you know. But now I realize it's the small moments that matter. Like this. Just being here with you. It's all I need. My heart swelled with pride, my chest tightening as I stepped into the kitchen. Marcus, I never knew you felt that way. He shrugged, setting the knife down on the counter. It's something I've been discovering, and honestly, I think it applies to you as well. You don't always have to be everything for everyone. You just have to be who you are, right? It struck me then. Marcus wasn't just talking about himself. He was talking about me as well. He was articulating the things I hadn't been able to say to myself, that it was acceptable for me to stop attempting to fill all the roles I thought I had to. I didn't have to be the perfect mother, the perfect friend, the perfect everything. I just had to be Rebecca, and that was sufficient. For the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of clarity, like a fog had lifted from my mind. I had spent so much of my life attempting to live for others, attempting to be what they needed me to be. But the truth was, I had forgotten to live for myself. I had forgotten what it meant to be me without the labels of mother, partner, or friend. Just Rebecca. I walked over to Marcus, who was still standing by the counter, looking at me with those same soft eyes that had always held so much of his heart. I placed my hand on his shoulder, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. The silence between us was comfortable now, no longer filled with the weight of unspoken words. "I'm proud of you, Marcus," I said quietly, my voice thick with emotion. "I'm so proud of the man you're becoming." He smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile. "And I'm proud of you, Mom, for finally finding your own path as well." Those words impacted me more profoundly than I expected. I hadn't realized how much I had been waiting for him to acknowledge my own growth, my own journey. But now, hearing him express it, I felt like I had finally reached a place where I could truly see myself, where I could finally step out from behind the roles I had been playing for so long. "I think we've both come a considerable distance," I said softly, "and we still have so much more to discover." Marcus nodded, his eyes reflecting a quiet understanding. "Yes, but I'm at peace with that, as long as we keep moving forward." In that moment, I realized that change wasn't something to fear, it was something to embrace. Marcus had changed, yes, but so had I. And that change, that growth, was something beautiful, something that would make us both stronger, closer, and more connected than we had ever been before. As the days passed, I began to feel lighter. I started creating time for myself again, time to read, to paint, to take long walks, to simply breathe. I didn't need anyone's approval to do it. And Marcus, well, he started to discover who he really was, away from the expectations he had been carrying. We didn't have all the answers, but we had each other, and we were both learning how to live for ourselves. It wasn't always easy. There were days when the weight of the past attempted to pull us backward, when doubts crept in, but we kept moving forward, and that was enough. Sometimes it's the smallest moments that change everything. A conversation in a quiet room, a moment of vulnerability, a realization that you don't have to be perfect, that you just have to be yourself. Over the following weeks, I noticed subtle changes in both of us. Marcus began pursuing interests he had always suppressed. He enrolled in a photography class, something he had mentioned in passing years ago but never acted upon. I watched him discover this passion, capturing moments of beauty in ordinary things. His eye for detail, his patience, his willingness to see the world from different angles. All of it revealed aspects of him I hadn't fully recognized before. For myself, I reconnected with old friends I had lost touch with over the years. Women I had known before motherhood consumed my identity, before I had become defined solely by my relationship to others. We met for coffee, for walks in the park, for conversations that had nothing to do with children or responsibilities. I remembered what it felt like to laugh freely, to share stories about my own experiences, my own thoughts, without filtering everything through the lens of being someone's mother. One evening, Marcus came home with a photograph he had taken, a stunning image of sunrise breaking through morning fog, golden light streaming between trees. He handed it to me with a shy smile. "I want you to have this," he said. "It reminded me of something you said once, about how every day is a chance to begin again." I held the photograph, tears welling in my eyes. "I don't remember saying that, but it's beautiful. You said it during one of your difficult periods, when everything felt overwhelming. I was probably 15 or 16. You didn't know I was listening, but those words stayed with me. The realization that my son had been paying attention, even when I thought I was failing, even when I felt most inadequate, moved me deeply. We influence each other in ways we don't always recognize, in moments we don't always remember. Marcus, I said softly, have I ever told you that being your mother has been the greatest privilege of my life? Not because of what you've accomplished or who you've become, but simply because you're you. He smiled, his eyes glistening. You're telling me now, and that's what matters. As autumn transitioned into winter, our home took on a different atmosphere. It was no longer a place where I simply maintained order and ensured everyone's needs were met. It became a space where two individuals were learning to coexist authentically, supporting each other's growth while pursuing their own paths. Marcus began dating someone, a thoughtful young woman named Sophie who shared his passion for photography. I watched him navigate this relationship with a maturity that surprised me, communicating openly, setting boundaries, being vulnerable. He was applying the lessons we had both learned about authenticity and self-awareness, and I started dating as well. After years of believing that chapter of my life had closed, I met Daniel at a community art class. He was kind, patient, genuinely interested in knowing who I was, beyond any role I played. Our relationship progressed slowly, carefully, built on mutual respect and genuine connection. Marcus was supportive in ways that touched me deeply. He didn't interrogate or judge. He simply expressed happiness that I was discovering this part of myself again. One Sunday afternoon, the four of us had dinner together. Marcus, Sophie, Daniel, and myself. It was relaxed, filled with laughter and easy conversation. At one point, I looked around the table and felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. This was family in a new form, not bound by traditional definitions, but connected by genuine care and respect. After Sophie and Daniel left, Marcus and I sat together on the porch, wrapped in blankets against the chill, watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. "Mom," he said quietly, "do you remember that night when everything changed, when we both finally stopped pretending?" I nodded. "I think about it often. I'm grateful for that night," he continued. "I'm grateful you were brave enough to be honest with me, to show me that it's okay to be uncertain, to be searching. I was terrified that night," I admitted. Terrified that being honest would damage our relationship, that you'd see me as weak or inadequate. "But it did the opposite, didn't it?" he said, turning to look at me. "It made everything stronger because it was real." "Yes," I said softly. "It made everything real." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, and I reflected on the journey we had both undertaken. It hadn't been about dramatic transformations or sudden revelations. It had been about small, consistent steps toward authenticity, about choosing honesty over comfort, about accepting imperfection as part of being human. Marcus spoke again, his voice thoughtful. "I've been thinking about the future lately, about what I want to build with my life, and I realized that the most important thing you taught me wasn't about achievement or success. It was about being true to myself, about living with integrity." "That means everything to me," I said, my voice catching slightly. "But I also want you to know that you taught me too, Marcus. You taught me that it's never too late to rediscover yourself, that growth doesn't have an expiration date." He smiled, that warm, genuine smile that had become more frequent in recent months. "We taught each other, Mom. That's what makes it beautiful." As winter deepened and the year drew to a close, I found myself reflecting on everything that had changed. The woman I had been, exhausted, depleted, living for everyone except herself, felt like a distant memory. I wasn't perfect now. I still had doubts, still struggled with old patterns, but I was present in my own life in a way I hadn't been for years. Marcus had blossomed into someone I deeply admired, not because he had achieved specific milestones, but because he was genuinely himself, navigating life with thoughtfulness and authenticity. Our relationship had evolved into something richer than I could have imagined, built on mutual respect and genuine understanding rather than obligation and role-playing. One evening, as I prepared for bed, I found a note Marcus had left on my nightstand. It was simple, just a few lines written in his distinctive handwriting. "Mom, thank you for having the courage to change. Thank you for showing me that becoming who we're meant to be is a lifelong journey, not a destination. I'm proud to walk this path alongside you. Love always, Marcus. I held the note against my heart, tears streaming down my face, not tears of sadness, but of profound gratitude. This was the gift we had given each other, permission to be imperfect, to be evolving, to be authentically ourselves. The journey wasn't finished. There would be more challenges, more moments of uncertainty, more opportunities for growth, but we were no longer afraid of them. We had learned that transformation isn't about becoming someone different, it's about becoming more fully who you already are. That night, I slept peacefully, knowing that whatever came next, I would face it as Rebecca, not just as a mother, not just as a friend or partner, but as a complete person, worthy and whole, exactly as I was, and that was the greatest gift of all. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of authenticity. Not perfection, but truth. Not the end of our journey, but the beautiful continuing story of two people learning to live fully, honestly, and courageously, together yet separate, connected yet independent, forever changed by the moment we chose to stop pretending and start living.